Africans, we have so many cultures, even within the continent. It's a rich and vibrant culture that you want to experience. We have this way of living with one another. It's such an important aspect of my life that I want to preserve, even for my family and my children, in the sense that we just process life with others. We don't navigate life alone. We believe that everyone has to be on board. So I miss that about Africa. I miss that about Nigeria, but it wasn't safe. We used to live in fear back home in Nigeria, and the kids were so aware of that. It was the middle of the night. We just heard a loud bang on the door, very loud. And my husband woke me up and said, he was like, what's happening? So he stepped out to go check, and still today I still remember that day when he came in and said, I think thieves are here. Like armed men are in our house. I went into shock and I ran into the bathroom and was there for hours. We kept hearing them trying to pull down the door. Luckily we had a very strong door, these bulletproof doors, so they couldn't get in, and they left after over an hour. Shortly after that, another incident happened. I was alone in the house. I just heard a loud bang, and I went to check through the window. I saw my wall down, the fence of our house down. We pulled down all the doors, kitchen doors, toilet doors. Everywhere was looted, everywhere. Even the wardrobes, the shelves were like, it was chaotic. They pointed a gun at me and my family, and it was just a very terrific night. For months and for over a year, I was always living in shock, and I would have fear run through my body for months. I knew, no, this is it. And yeah, my husband thought, okay, I think this is the right time to, we just can't, it's not safe anymore for this family. And that was when we started making the plans to relocate. We did everything possible because our motivation was coming to here to be in a safe environment. When we moved to Canada, like I said, we didn't have so much money, even after converting everything to the Canadian dollars. So we had to sell our properties, sell cars, just to make sure that we're able to get that money. And of course, the exchange rate. Naira the value is not anywhere near the Canadian dollars. So imagine, having to put all this together, changing that into the Canadian dollars, and it's just like nothing, coming here. So we had to start small. We had to get a 2-bedroom apartment, 1 toilet and bathroom. And I remember that was a major problem for us. Like, this is really extreme to where we are coming from. We felt everything was so expensive because then we didn't have our own income, so we were spending from the money we brought from home, and so every dollar was like a big deal. Would always want to convert, like, this is how much we get this back home in Nigeria. How come we are getting this at this rate? I remember I hardly wanted to buy anything except the basic needs that we had to get, and so that was the first shock for us. And oh man, that was tough. My husband has been the breadwinner from inception of our marriage, and so like the major person footing the bills, and coming here having to depend a little bit on my own income. He didn't like that, and of course mine wasn't even sufficient, daycare worker. So, and I was working part-time because I couldn't get a full-time offer. So it was really hard. For 8 months he didn't get any job that really suited his work experience. He had over 20 years experience as an IT specialist. What I think gave us that breakthrough was he got a Canadian experience. I told you he did that warehouse job for like a month. He used to drive 40 minutes there, stay overnight, and I remember he would come home like tired, sleep throughout the day. And my concern then was, how do you even get the time to apply for the real jobs that you wanted to get? So I told him to stop the job. He just didn't go after. He just stopped, called them and said he was done. And then we just focused, prayed, and after 8 months of staying here without something, he was able to get something that really worked for us. The first job I took was in the daycare as a child care worker. The cultural difference was a problem. Nigerians have this method of this style of communication of being very direct. So I remember a colleague of mine used to always ask me, are you upset? Are you upset? When I'm talking, she's asking, I'm like, do I look mad or angry? So I had to talk to my friend that has been here for a while, and she said, it's your tone of voice. She thinks you're angry. So with that was quite a huge surprise for me, because I never knew that. We don't want to offend, but we are very direct because we place so much value in honesty. That was a major challenge for me, trying to understand and decode, what my Canadian colleagues were saying. For the first 2-3 years, I struggled to adapt. My children's adaptation, I think it's my first child that really got the most of the impacts of the culture shock and the change in environment. She came in when she was in grade 5, and like in grade 8 or 9 was when she mentioned to me that she was bullied so much in elementary, which I didn't know. Looking back now, that's part of what is pushing me to promote cultural inclusion. I go into schools a lot, and I mention these instances to them. Like, you have to be aware of the children that are coming into Canada, because Canada is right now full of immigrants. We are taking them in, and we have to be aware and sensitive of their cultural backgrounds. You may not like some things about their culture, but there's a way we can, make them understand how to adjust and not just be so critical on them. I want my kids to know that being African is advantageous to them. I don't want them to have anything negative when it comes to their roots or where they are from. And part of the values that I think we carry is the guts, and that comes from experience, the negative ones especially, pushing through against all odds and making sure that you survive, and not just survive, but survive well. Our culture is very interesting, and part of what we have to offer is the fun side of life. Even looking at our dressings, always bright colored. We are fun people, never a dull moment with us. Just this vibrancy that comes with everything about Africans. We are passionate people that are confident and want to offer their best to their world. I try to preserve my cultural identity by getting much more involved in my community, my other Africans. Like I mentioned, the church community, they're playing a huge role. We look forward to Sundays. Sundays is like the party time. Not party, but our worship services are usually loud, praying, singing at the top of your voice. The hallelujah chants, like, repeatedly every time. We could interject our pastors and just scream hallelujah, show off your best outfits, your latest regalia. We plan for Sundays. Faith here is very different, and I think that's part of why I wanted my kids to have that exposure to the African way of worship. Like I said, they get both, best of both. When we first came here, and we just didn't see that community life here. We didn't see that. I was having extreme thoughts about my life, about myself. I think that was one thing that individualistic lifestyle did for me. So because of that, I made a conscious effort to build my community, like to build the African community. Sherwood Park, where I live, is white dominated. We're just getting culturally diverse, getting better now. But I love Sherwood Park. I love the environment. I chose to be here. I moved here from Edmonton. And the first thing I thought of, I remember when I came into Sherwood Park 2020, I knew I had to build a community. There was nothing African here, and I knew I had to. I spoke to some of my friends. I said, I'm going to get an African community here. And here we are. So it's after we started building that we started having this sense of community again. We have so many events. We are on a WhatsApp group, all of us, over 110 families. Yeah, here, and we are still way more than that. And I've learned that integration is about sticking to your roots and your culture, but still open to new possibilities from the other culture. So that's what I prioritize with our society. We are not trying to stay as African. No, we want to absorb both. We want to promote more of intercultural learning, so that we can learn from the Canadian culture and still keep ours. It is challenging to, come from a very different world and try to fit in. Some people shrink, they just want to play along. I did that for a while, but at the end of the day, we just have to bring in that diversity in here. That difference is what makes Canada rich. I want to promote cultural understanding and awareness, so that there'll be reduced discrimination, prejudice, or bias, so that we can be able to fully contribute to the society in terms of enriching our social fabric, especially in Alberta, not just Strathcona County. We have a lot to offer in terms of the economy, the culture. It's hard to feel like you're having people coming to, your country and taking up all that you are about. You are the host culture. You have you have the values that have made Canada what it is right now. But I also want to encourage non-immigrants to know that every other culture has something positive to offer, and you don't have to take everything, but be open enough to hear their stories, hear where they are from, pick out those values and add it to yours. We have a lot to offer Canada. Yeah.